Okay, so this is the guide for part A of Lab 5. Okay, you'll see, as always, here on the left are my data with my nice labels already in it and everything, and on the right is my lab guide for Lab 5. Starting with the guide, the very first thing is set up. So we want to name our file, save as, in this case. Now we have 490 Lab 5, we made it, woo! And I always already have it, but you won't, I assume, okay? And then I need a new sheet. So down here, I'm gonna make a new sheet that says ANOVA input. Great. And now I'm going to add the tool pack that we talked about in class. Or if you weren't in class, this is a tool pack that we're adding in order to do ANOVAs using Excel. So you're gonna go here under File, and then depending on your version, it's gonna be farther up or way here in the bottom left in my version. I haven't tried it with 365 yet. So if that's funky, let me know. As I said before, if you cannot get this tool pack to work, do everything until the tool pack and send it to me and I'll run it and send it back to you, okay? But anyway, this I'm going to assume is a little bit small, so I'm going to narrate what I'm doing. So in this options menu, on the left side are some categories. One of them is called add-ins, okay? In this add-ins category, you'll see the active add-ins, which may be nothing for you. It depends on your exact copy of Excel, and the inactive ones. Down at the bottom of this window is a section that says Manage, and then it says Excel add-ins. You may have to select it in this drop-down. It's probably the first option, and then you press Go. And in here, you'll want to make sure the Analysis Tool Pack is selected. I also have the option of an Analysis Tool Pack VBA, which I don't even know what that is, honestly. But then you'll press OK, and it should kick in, right? So once I do that, if I go back into options and into add-ins, you can see it's here as active, right? Mine was already active, but it should now be up here. If that wasn't an option for you either, that's something that we should discuss, So let me know. I'm happy to troubleshoot, or again, you can send it to me and I will run it if need be. Okay, so the next thing is to save the file, which I will do. And now I need to create my column names by this system that's right here. Judging by my actual data, which I'll use to refer to here, right? This is how mine turns out. So it's this location 1, 2, and 3. So that's in my case, the treetops, it's whatever is in column C. I need to have a column for each of those, both the value in the wrench juggling and then the value in the complementizer, or rather the action rate in column D and the language rate in column E. So this is what mine come out to. You can see it's the treetops and then wrench juggling in the treetops and complementizer rate, okay? Mine all have very long names. So I'm actually I made my columns wider and now I'm just going to turn on wrap text. You do not need to do that as long as I can read what you're doing. But I'm going to do that just for visibility for me. Kachiro, wrench, juggling. And I'm actually going to copy and paste wrench juggling after these guys just to speed things up a little. Rook, Roro, wrench juggling. And then I'm going to write wrench juggling. And then I'm going to write Kachiro. Now this is complementizer per sentence. Once again, I am going to copy and paste this. Rook, Roro, complementizer per sentence. Complementizer. So you can type that all by hand if you need to, that's fine, okay? But this is what you end up with, and again, this mirrors what I've asked you for in the guide. And so now you might be able to deduce, but I'm going to have you filter the data so that you can copy in under each column just those cells, okay? So now I need to go over to the wrench juggling column and get the data for each of the 3 locations. So K, R, and T in that order. So I am going to filter these guys, and you can filter it so that they're in order. That's a smart way to go about it. K, R, T in that order. You also could do it where you only turn on the first one and then copy it, and then you only turn on the second one and you copy it, whatever it is you want to do. But the easiest way is to make sure they're in the same order and then copy and paste directly. Okay, so here's me. I'm gonna copy them all over and then I'm gonna move them down. So here they are, and then I know that only 10 of these rows is that one. So then I'm gonna take the next 10 rows and stick it here, and the next 10 rows and stick it here. However it is you need to do to copy those over. If you want to do them 10 at a time, that's fine. And then here, I'm going to copy, and I'm going to stick it there. And then I'm going to take out these 10 rows and put them here. And then these 10 rows and stick them here. Great. So I've copied over my data. Ready? And save. So using filtering, doing exactly what I just did, or doing 10 at a time, whatever you need to do, copy over the data, okay? Then save the file. So now we're going to go to the input sheet, and we're going to click the analysis tab. So you're going to find this under the subcategory called data. 99.9% chance this is where it is because it's under data. But this is where it is on mine, okay? Data, and then we have all this sort of transform, queries, data types, filter, data tools, forecast, on the far end, analysis. And there's only one button here called data analysis tools. So I'm going to click that. It's going to pop up. And this is a little bit small, so let me read you what I'm looking at, okay? Under this, there's analysis tools, and there's a list of different kinds of analyses. And it's like ANOVA single factor, ANOVA two-factor replication, ANOVA two-factor without replication, correlation, covariance, blah, 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 blah. Down here are two t-tests, for example. So if you wanted to do lab 4 this way, you would pick the t-test two sample assuming equal variances. This is the one you would pick if you were going to do that. But we're doing an ANOVA for this particular one. All right, so we're going to pick the very first thing, ANOVA single factor, and press OK. Now I need an input range, okay? Now notice that in this box, and when you actually click on it, you'll be able to see it better than probably in this video. But in this box along the left-hand side, about a third of the way down, is a box that says labels in first row. I want you to click that, okay? Check mark that box and turn it on. Because this means that when you're selecting your input range, you can click the titles and it'll be able to look at what, it'll know that you have also highlighted the title and that is a title and not like a number. So they're grouped by columns. This should all be fine, but now you need to select the data. So the arrow on the right side of input range, if you hit that, it will let you drag and select. So now I'm going to select A1 through C11. So the 3 columns, including the titles, having to do with the action rate. And then you can press enter, for example. Now they're selected. And then it says output options. There's a range. If you want to click that and put it in this sheet for some reason, you don't need to do that. New worksheet, new workbook. Worksheet here just means tab, so that's fine. And then I can name it. So I'm going to name this one, let's see, action rate output. Great. Bam. Now I have that. I'm actually going to slide it down to the end here. You can drag and reorder your tabs if you desire. So here we go. Now this has spit out a lot of lovely data, and I'm going to zoom in just so you can kind of look at it, right? So since I included the titles, now I have these nice summaries. Hey, look, another nice place where you can get my averages and my variances and stuff. And just eyeballing this, you know, they're definitely, I mean, this one is lower than the others, right? This is 83 versus 102, 110, but the variance is pretty high. Variance is kind of like, it's like standard deviation, but not. It's calculated using standard deviation and some more stuff exists, but it seems like it might be a little bit high, okay? So these look kind of different, but the variance is pretty high. So I don't know if it's going to be significant. So let's take a look down here. This is the ANOVA. And the reason why they're showing me variance is it is in fact an analysis of variance. That's the VA, okay? So it knows how many groups I have. So it knows that there's 2 degrees of freedom. You don't need to know these things, et cetera, et cetera. But here's my F value and here's my P value. And this is the biggest thing right here is the P value, right? Okay, this is what I'm looking for in terms of whether it is significant or not. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. When F is like 4 or bigger, not 0.4, but like actually 4 or bigger, the chances of P being significant goes up dramatically. That's kind of the threshold for F. That is to say, in an ANOVA, the F is the main statistic, and you're actually interpreting P, but F, when it's 4, usually means P is going to be significant. Okay, great. So I'm actually going to save this now. So I have to do the same thing for the language output rate, or language rate output. So let's go back to the ANOVA input tab, and I'm going to go back to the data subsection and click data analysis again. Exact same thing I did for the action rate. ANOVA single factor, okay. And then now my range, instead of being the columns for wrench juggling, I'm going to pick complementizers. Press enter. All right, columns, labels in first row, yes. Alpha, new worksheet, except for now I'm going to write it language rate and press OK. And now I have a tab for that. Here we go. Go down there. Okay. All right, and so now if I zoom in on this one, here we go. So now we have the complementizer rate for the 3 locations. Here's my averages. The variance is very high. So once again, probably not going to be significant. And lo and behold, it is not, right? 0.37 is much bigger than 0.05. Okay, so here's my p-value once again. If f had been 4, notice that the p-value is smaller since f is bigger, right? So here f is 1 and the p-value is 0.37. For the action rate, f was 0.78 and the p-value was 4.6. So you'll notice that as p goes up, as f goes up, p goes down, right? It's sort of, so there's an inverse relationship. All right, save file, okay? And then you won't need to make an actual table, but I'll have you paste these tables into your report. So when I say in this lab report section on page 3, write a short summary of your findings from the guide, including pasting the summary, the summary and ANOVA tables, both of these guys, into the written report. So directly into the quiz or upload it as a file, or paste it into a Word doc and then upload that Word doc to the quiz, either way. And in that, I've asked you to indicate whether either of the ANOVAs was significant and why it is or isn't, right? So in my case, I'm looking at the variance compared to the average and being like, wow, that is astronomically huge. And also I'm like, well, the F value is very small, okay? But I mean, that would really be the reason that these aren't that different. Okay, but the Excel sheet's done. So let me know if you have questions.